Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't expect so many of you to come because of the winter holiday, so we are even happier that you are participating in this meeting. Today's presentation, as its main topic, has the overview of the forecasts for the year 2019 that the Capital Group published yesterday. The presentation will be started by Dariusz Mańko, the president of the board, who will talk about the expectations for the next year and summarize the last year, and then the members of the board supervising the particular segments will be talking about their expectations, and finally the financial director will talk about the expectations and the financial results, the debt and the other items that are important from our perspective. Of course, after the presentation you can ask the questions. Also those listening online and watching online can ask questions. And after the session of questions, of course, you're welcome to come to lunch. The president of the board, starting his presentation.
Dzień dobry, witam serdecznie Państwa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy that so many are present, even though it's the winter holiday in Warsaw. We would like to summarize the year 2018 in a couple of years. Earlier in the plans, we talked that we had some fears about this year, but I'd like to say that this was not a bad year for us. About regarding my experience, I would say it was a stable year indeed, despite certain concerns regarding the remunerations and also the duties. For us, the stability of the market of orders, the stability of the prices of aluminium, stability in terms of the currencies, these were the most important things, and this helped us this year. And I have to say that this was a very good year for us, a year in which we could think about investments, we could think what we can do additionally, what else we can do. And the revenue was good. As you can see, it looks a little bit funny because all the segments increased the sales by 12, 14 and 13%. The whole group 13% growth of sales, so more than we planned for 2018 and more than what we planned when we presented the strategy for the years 2015-2020. It's similar with the profit. Actually, the profit of the group has grown at the EBITDA level by 9%, and this is the value that also exceeded our expectations for 2018 and the expectations that we presented in the strategy. So a very successful year for the group, another successful year in a row, actually. Regarding investments, more good investments. A company is developing and a company has good results if the investments are successful and timely or ahead of time. I think that this is this part of our work that we have been doing very well for years. Our segments have been coping great. This was also visible in 2018. The extruded segment, their advanced works in the hard alloys as well. A research and development center for the aluminium segment will be opened on time, a little bit ahead of time, and it's similar in the flexible packaging segment. In the investment in Oświęcim, this whole is growing. My colleagues will certainly talk about this during their presentations because they have something to show off. What lies ahead in 2019? I'm not going to list all the chances and all the threats. Certainly, a threat that everybody fears, that everybody is thinking of, is the potential slowdown in the economy, in the European economy especially. There are signals that the sales of cars is slowing down, that our competitors have fewer orders, and this is a certain threat. Our position as the management board, because we must have a position, is that there can be a certain slowdown, but certainly it will not be a slowdown like in the years 2008, 2009. What we are expecting possibly is a slight slowdown in the demand. The Polish GDP probably will be lower as well. That's what we expect. But of course, we want to use all our possibilities, the talents, the sales, to take advantage of this slowdown. We are still thinking that we are a company that has good contact and communication and penetration of the market. So even if a slowdown happens, we are looking for chances. Many clients in such circumstances open up to new possibilities, to new suppliers, to new providers, and we want to use such open door possibilities. And we can keep this for a moment, please. This slide. Certainly, there is the pressure, although the Central Statistical Institution data state that as regards unemployment, it's stayed at a similar level, or it's even growing. So this trend of certain advantage at the side of the employees against the employer, it's probably something that we are past. And we are achieving a certain status quo. We planned some increase in pace, but we hope that this will be a moderate process and that we shall not have like big growth in the costs of remunerations and pays. Another reason for concern is that if there is a slowdown, especially in the construction sector, although these days the regulations help the construction period. In the past we had like loads of unpaid invoices, but now this is different because the regulations help. And we are securing ourselves better than we used to in the past. So true that we listed this as a threat, that the construction sector, that there can be a slowdown, and that there can be a shortage of finance, but we have our ways to cope with that as well. We can continue now. The key assumptions for the next year, like lower GDP, strengthening of the Polish currency, like this can have a negative impact on our exports. And as regards aluminium, this there is mainly affects the revenues. Ladies and gentlemen, recently we published an overview of the strategic options. I think this is something intriguing for us all. And uh, but this is nothing sensational. I've been working for this company for over 20 years. I've been the president of the board for 15 years. And we are a company that has always operated this way that we can cope, we'll do something. The guys from Podbeskidzie know how to run this company. We know how to invest. We understand the market, and we can make our shareholders happy. And we believe that we are really performing well, that we are performing well in this role, and that the shareholders can be happy. But time, ladies and gentlemen, is flying, and I must say that it's been like a dozen years. And from a company that had, if I can remember, 700 million turnover, now it's 3 billion. And if we don't well, the three segments have like 1.3 billion turnover. So these are big entities. These are big entities. Not a small company like small smart company that Kent used to be. This has changed because in the past we used the flexibility. We're flexible in relation comparison to our competitors. And the segments have become so big, so important that they are in the open waters right now. And the question is, can we swim in such open, deep waters? Can we cope? And there is no answer from our side now. This is just a thought that we had, that the management board had when we thought that actually the 2015-2020 strategy will be achieved in a moment. And we need to think, because that's how I work, we need to think ahead. We need to think about the future. As you can see, the strategy, and we always deliver the strategy, right? So we also want to build a strategy for the period until the year 2025. But we have to ask ourselves the question what the market trends are going to be, how our particular businesses develop, what is the impact of geography, of the politics. So we have to answer the question. We have to answer the question, are we able to provide biggest value to shareholders during the coming 5 years the way we are, or maybe something should change in the system when we talk about the acquisitions, when we talk maybe about a merger, or maybe disinvestment, maybe based on our works, based on our research, we will be thinking about a certain direction, one direction. We do not know the answer yet, so we cannot answer questions about that. I am just saying about what is the origin of the overview of the strategic options. The genesis is that we have to work on the strategy, and we have to have the biggest possible knowledge to make the right decisions for our shareholders. This is our task as the managers that are hired to work for the shareholders. And this is the only sub text of the whole work. Often the strategic options are overviewed by companies that are in financial trouble or so. We know what to do, but we need some benchmarking. We want to see where we are, what the competitors are, what is the future of the particular sectors, and what we should do to make it best for our companies and first of all for the shareholders. We hope to finish this work in the second quarter of this year. The shareholders must know in which direction the company is going to develop. The employees of our company also need to know that the company made certain decisions and is heading in some direction. Certainly, we are not going to extend this planning in time because this is not good for our organization. Well, I guess I've exhausted my topic. Of course, after the conference, we can talk about it more, either in the room or outside. And now I give the floor to my colleagues who will give you the details. Director Wysotsky first. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Yes. I want to present the year 2019. One of the goals is to strengthen our position of the leader on the national market. The plans for the next year, that's 83,000 tons of production. Our competitor, this is the production of 40,000 tons this year, and this will not grow next year. This shows how far we are, what kind of leader we are. Like we have 83,000 tons, and the competitor has 40,000 tons. And the growth of sales 7%. You can see the figures. 1,300,000,000, and even we talked about this today, that next year it will be like 7,000 ton per month. And we increase the volumes a lot. The main stress is on the capacity of the new presses for investment of the new press on for the soft alloys, 5,000 tons to be on the market this year, and the press for hard alloys, 600. This is the press that is now being launched. Hard alloys, let me remind you, we are the only manufacturers of these in Poland, and we target different sectors. How we want to achieve this 8,000 tons, that's quite a lot. In 2018, we limited our clients, especially the clients from abroad, because in Poland we are still defending the position of the leader, and we are generally catering to the Polish market. But we had some limits on the clients from abroad, and today we can offer them a bigger volume. Thanks to that, this is the fastest way to the 8,000 tons and filling this with the orders from the clients. So because we didn't have the capacity, so we had to block their orders. The export markets, again, we are talking about the strengthening the main export markets at Germany, that's Czech Republic, and that's Italy. And it's being said that in the automotive sector there's a slowdown in Germany. But the European market is 3 million tons, 1 million, that's Germany, that's 80% of our exports. So despite some things happening on the German market, we are not feeling this, because the orders from the German market have remained stable. Let me also mention that the British market, not listed here, this was our fourth export market, but we are approaching this carefully. Mainly we are looking at the money and the orders. We'll be discussing that when the Brexit situation is clarified. The range of new products in the component production in our plant processing the aluminium profiles the retail for the automotive area and household goods, production of the advanced products, not just the straight 6-meter profile. We are gaining new contracts. We are gaining new contracts also in the automotive, because even though it is being said that there is a visible slowdown in the automotive, our products are the products for the premium brands. And actually, there hasn't been a visible slowdown in the premium brands ever. I have to tell you, the Land Rover Hybrid, this will be one of our biggest contracts for 2019, the new ones, I mean the new contracts. We'll be also fighting for maintaining the margins. In 2019, we are adjusting the prices to the higher cost base, and we know already that this is achievable. We are also improving our actions, even though we have very modern equipment, even though we are equipped with modern devices. We are still working on their efficiency and capacity. We have different programs. The development department, the production department, they are working on increasing the production efficiency. And we can see 0.2% drop for the next year. But again, let me compare to the competition. Our biggest competition in Poland, the profitability at the level of EBITDA, what they showed today at the conference, it's like a disaster. So talking about our competitors in the extruded sector, we are among the leading profitable presses in Europe. And a couple of words about the investments, the anode line. This is something again, it's based on the strategy. This is something that increases the value added. We just add another operation, another operation. There aren't enough such anode lines in Poland. There was uncovered demand last year. There was no capacity in terms of the anode lines. That's a big technology line. In year 2019, it's going to be the first stage because, like I said, it's a big technology line and we cannot build it within 1 year. We need some stages to build it, but will be the biggest provider of the anode profile. Our capacity will grow twofold. Another interesting point connected with energy, the cogeneration project, that is the production of electrical energy from gas. This is a much cheaper way. At the same time, we had an idea like this long ago, only there was a problem with some additional things like heat that has to be processed somehow. In the winter, it's not a problem because it can be used for heating, but what to do with this heat in the summer? So cogeneration and connecting this with the new anode plant that will be a big receiver of heat will make it possible to launch a cogeneration program. The gas engine producing electricity plus steam, heat technology, steam. Like I said, this we start with a small project in this scope, a small project, and if everything goes well, and if the prices of electricity are as crazy as they are, we'll continue pursuing this direction. Thank you. And just a couple of slides. First, there were, of course, the figures, and now I want to show you how it looks. To give you some idea, that's 40 hectare, the location of Kent only. So the place where Kent Group originated, the historic location of Grupa Kęty, 40 hectares, several thousand square meter under roof. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Some words about the plans regarding the aluminium sector, Aluprof. Our segment last year achieved the sales of 1,285 million. That's a growth by 155 million. So this is based on one of the analysts said that there is a threat connected with the growing potential of our competition. Ponzio was quoted as the example, and Ponzio generates the profit between 160 and 180 million. So I wouldn't exaggerate with this information and information about our competitors, because we are aware of our competitors and what they can do. Of course, we respect our competitors. We know their good and bad sides. But let me add that the wholesales of all the competitors present in the country, this is much, much less than the sales of our entity. So all the competitors together much smaller sales than the sales of our company alone. For the next year, we also plan a growth of over 100 million with our organic operations. We made you accustomed to the fact that we grow by over 100 million per year, and this is the level which we as the organization believe we can contain, we can control. And it must be remembered that we are not a production company. We are a technology company, a sales company, a marketing company. And in order to contain the growth in the proper manner, we have to grow in all of these areas: human resources, technology, warehouses, and so on. So the level of 120 million, this is the safe level. And how to do it, I'll tell you in a couple of words in a moment. About the national market, we are working here mainly in two areas. The first one being the big area and medium area facilities or objects, and we are an unquestioned leader here. And for this year, we don't expect any bad news. Generally, the market is developing in this field. We are seeing that our investors have a big potential for growth, and this is an area that we believe we are piloting in a very good way. The second one is the individual client, and in this area we have the biggest competition because Ponzio that I mentioned, Aliplus and Yaval and the other companies are competing with us most in this area. What we want to do actually, last year we started that, and we are increasing our sales potential, strengthening it. We have a dedicated team of architects for individual clients, architects designing mainly single-family houses and like more luxurious houses. We prepared a special marketing campaign that we are going to run this year, and this is dedicated to the individual client. It is supposed to strengthen the individual client's awareness regarding the advantage of aluminium in comparison to other materials. But I'm going to show you this in the next slide. Of course, exports have been developing most dynamically, and we are going to put more emphasis there. I showed you during the previous conference there are a couple of countries where we started the sales. Now I'm presenting more where we either are selling already or we are planning to start selling this year. I'm showing you the division into the so-called direct sales, and we have the markets: Croatia, Greece, Azerbaijan, and the sales are there from last year. They are there, so we are planning dynamic growth of sales in these countries. And why are we talking about direct sales? Because they are sales directly from our company in Poland. And the other two countries that I'm showing here, Kuwait and Kenya, these are the markets where we want to exist this year, but as a joint venture. We would like to have our own activity with a local partner, so the sales will not be directly delivered, but through a company where we want to have shares. And about the export markets, in this case, there is the American market. As you know, for some time we've been showing more objects, more facilities in the US, mainly in New York. This is not going to change. This is the area where we are going to operate quite strongly. Still, I'll show you two objects that we are going to built this year, and we decided that we are also going on the American market, that we are going to penetrate this market, looking for individual clients like public buildings, single-family houses, residences, and we are going. Unfortunately, the research from the European market does not translate to the American market. We already identified some initial solutions to cycles. March, May will allow us to conduct all the research necessary for our standard products to be introduced on the American market. We have identified the research and the type of constructions that will enable sales not just on the American market, but on the big potential market, the Canadian market. First, of course, it will be the sales of the ready products from Poland, but our target is to base on several American partners, and there we can do distribution of the aluminium systems. Now, what already happened this year about our marketing activities, about what we are doing, and I think we are doing this best, better than our competitors. We participated in January in the fairs in Munich, the biggest construction fairs in Europe, maybe in the world. Over 2,000 visitors to our stand. Our company was very popular. We are really surprised that we have so many clients on the European market that recognize our brand. So this is something that we really want to show to you. This was a very positive experience indeed. And the second thing was the opening in January of a showroom. We call it the showroom. Actually, this is going to be a place where our employees, our partners, our clients can have like professional contact with our latest solutions during trainings, presentations, business meetings. We've worked for a long time on this place, but I believe that we have achieved the best possible result, and it will be generating results in the future. A slide about the campaign that I mentioned. These are the slogans, the words that we want to emphasize. First of all, this is targeting the individual client. We have to make him aware what aluminium is, why where its quality and reliability comes from, what is the comfort of using aluminium products, that for an individual client, having aluminium solutions in the home should be something prestigious and something that proves his or her taste. So we are going to have a marketing campaign about this. Maybe this year or next year, such a campaign will also be on television. A couple of words about the new products. We are showing just three examples representing a whole range of our solutions. The styrofoam box, this is something completely new for us. This is dedicated to our roller blind systems, optimized shape, optimized solutions that has achieved very high heat parameters in tests. This is integrated where a roller blind can be put, a comprehensive solution. Why am I showing you the products? I am showing you that when planning our development and when planning the new products, we are doing this thinking about the future. The styrofoam box has been on sale from last year. And then the next product, this is Skyline. This is big aluminum constructions, a lot of glass and big geometric capabilities. With smaller amounts of aluminium used. This is our ready solutions already tested, and the sales are to start in the first quarter. And the last proposition, this is the facade blind. This is something that's being designed, will not be on sale this year. These are the three groups representing our solutions at a different stage of implementation, not already on sale, but some in development. About investments, for us, actually, two or three most important investments. This is the research and development facility. The two slides below, a visualization and the actual photo. And this will be opened in June this year. All the equipment, all the test chambers have already been ordered and due to arrive at the turn of April and May. And the varnish room already have it in the warehouse. We are just waiting for the building to be completed, and June is the time when we can launch the new vertical varnish room. And another investment to start probably in the third quarter this year, the extension of the plant in Opole, adding like several thousand square meters in Opole plant and the warehouse. This is the necessary space for us to optimally manage the materials accumulated there, and also the production part where completely new solutions will be produced. The facade blinds that I mentioned, but not only, others as well. And that's actually it as regards the figures. And now I just want to shortly document what I said about the potential connected with the bigger buildings or bigger facilities. This is just an example of some projects for this year. We are going to work on them this year, and these are in Poland, these objects here. This slide presents three projects in New York. In the middle and to the right, you can see two new contracts that we won and have been approved by the American institutes. Probably production will start mid-year. And to the left, this is another stage of the facility that we presented previously at the building located in the center of New York. We are just showing the stage of development of this project. And now we are producing the 70th floor of this building. So actually on production side, we are on the roof. And finally, the slide showing more objects, the objects that we won abroad. Mainly in Europe, but not only. And this all shows our potential, our development possibilities, and shows that there are no threats from the competition. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The flexible packaging sector, we are through the year 2018, a record year for Alupol Group. We have achieved the sales of 707 million zloty. Operating profit exceeded 90 million zloty, and EBITDA about 119 million zloty. I prepared this first slide regarding the 2015-2020 perspective. The year 2015 was the last year in which we did not produce our own polypropylene film. We started this investment, I'm talking about Alupol Films, in the fourth quarter of 2016. And we've been producing the film for 2 years, and on this business, we achieved sales of about 340 million zloty. EBITDA on this business, about 36 million zloty. Last year, it was about 200 million sales and over 20 million EBITDA. What lies ahead in 2019? We are expecting a sales growth of 5%, EBITDA of 5.5%, and profit at the operating level the growth is about 8%. The particular sectors and their prospects for 2019. So the tea segment, cooperation with the giants in this segment, with Unilever, AB Foods, the Polish big organizations as well, like Mokate, Maspek, or Artifex. In this segment, we are planning a growth of several dozen percent, like in the sector of coffees, thanks to the cooperation with companies like Jacobs, Duff, Egberts, Nestle. We are estimating that the growth will be very considerable indeed. It is obvious that when we are quoting percent or percentage, the question about the base can be asked. But let me just say that the biggest in the particle industries are receiving from us the amounts of over 1,000 tons. And talking about the coffee sector, there is the growth of sales of to the pod machines, which you can also see here at our conference. This is the Nespresso project on which we are working with Nestle Group. A big sales, really. And this segment of the food segment that has been under pressure, but the trend has been changing. The amounts that we are predicting for the next year are similar to what we achieved in 2018. Actually, mainly the cooperation with Unilever, with Nestle, and with Orklo. Another segment, this is the segment of pet food. We are growing mainly thanks to cooperation of own brands, very good prospect for this segment from the point of view of Alupel. The sweet sector, this segment, like the pasta segment, this is not a segment where, to use the construction sector, we don't see ourselves as the general contractor, rather subcontractor. Whoever deals with flexible packaging starts with this packaging. The margin is very low. The product is characterized by very low value added. So we are not really interested in participating in tenders where the final effect is production like of several percent of the margin. But we are interested in the role of the subcontractor, not the general contractor. This is based on polypropylene film, and we are delivering this film to other participants on the market. That's how we take part in the development of this segment. But we are interested in cooperation with international firms like Perfettiva Mele, owner of Frutella, Chupa Chups, or Mentos, and the cooperation there is across Europe. We deliver the products to the plants in Spain or Russia. Another segment with prospects, this is the cornflakes and cereals sector. We are dynamically growing. In the slide, you can see products produced for chains like Biedronka or Lidl. And when I say Lidl, I don't mean just the Polish Lidl, but Lidl Europe. Another sector, that's fresh foods, the beneficiary of the, in inverted commas, slowdown of instant foods. But this segment that's just not ready made foods like dumplings, but also meat, also cold cuts, also cheese. And we are cooperating with all the significant players on the market, like Sokołów, Tarczyński, Animex, owner of brands like Morliny or Krakus. The last segment from the flexible packaging sector, this is the spice sector. You probably remember that recently this sector has been developing very dynamically. This was connected with a change of the eating habits. Recently, we've been seeing some small slowdown because flexible packaging is replaced by spices in rigid packaging, in glass mills, and by fresh spices, which are being offered by retail chains. The good news is that fresh spices are packed in some special film, and it so happens that it's also polypropylene film. So thanks to very strong cooperation with the manufacturers of these packages, we are participating also in this part of the market. And the last segment, very important. This is the BOPP film segment. Starting in 2016, we've had one line in Oświęcim. The output was to be 26,000 tons per year. In 2018, we managed to produce on this line 31,000 tons of BOPP film. We produce transparent, pearl, metallic, matte white film, so the full range. Production 7 days per week, 24 hours per day. And the question arises how we are going to grow next year to 33,000. And we have some surprise for you and for the owners. Namely, we deliver the investment in the second line much faster. As you know, we planned to launch a twin line in the first quarter of 2020, and it's very possible today that we'll launch the second line in the fourth quarter of 2019. Hence, we expect to produce several thousand tons on the new production line. And it so happened because within the record time of 7 months, we built a huge plant in the special economic zone in Oświęcim dedicated to the second line. Same output as the first line. I'm not just talking about the external shell, but very complicated multi-level foundations. The whole actually is closed. Now there are the external gates installed. Like I said, 7 months, and we launched this project, started this project late in the spring, the first half of June 2018. In January 2019, this looks, as you can see in the photo, we prepared for you a short film from a CCTV camera. So the quality maybe is not excellent. However, just to show you how the landscape changed in Gospodarcza Street in Oświęcim. And thank you for your attention. Let's pass on to consolidated financial results. 8% growth of revenues from sales planned in 2019. We plan to achieve this even though the prices of aluminum drop. You saw that these were the macroeconomic perspective, and a lower than in 2018 pace of growth of the economic growth in our country and on European markets. As regards the level of EBITDA, still we are maintaining a high level of operating profit and EBITDA profit, despite the growth of the cost base, about which I'm going to say more later. About the financial operations, we assume about 20 million interest costs, and also we have to take into consideration the exchange rate differences. It's very interesting that the current projects will not be run and will not give us more assets on the tax, because that's why we are expecting a much higher tax rate in 2019. In 2018, we assumed it's like 15 million assets for the deferred tax, especially in connection with the project of the new line in Oświęcim and all the financial projects from 2026. So we do not expect any more adjustments of this in this field. There will be minimum adjustments probably, but they are the result with the discount of the discount rate and the period where there will be extrapolation of the revenues and profits. Regarding the costs, we have some surprises here, especially when we look at the percentage. The first thing is the materials and goods. Why only a growth of 3% when the profit grew by 8%? A couple of factors involved. The first one is the aluminum price in the projections that we had, and as a result, the materials and goods about 30 million less costs in 2019. Also a change of the product underway and ready products, we have to consider this. And then the growth of materials and goods will be about 5.5%, and it will be in line with the growth of sales. Energy, this is a very important subject in Poland. Recently, we assume a certain growth of energy costs and gas costs, plus the growth in the quantity, about 29 million more costs that we'll be trying to transfer to our clients, of course, depending on how the situation evolves further, because the final decisions about whether the costs will be incurred by us or not depend on the regulations and decisions of certain companies that we cooperate with. The second point worth commenting on are the foreign services, a 16% growth connected both with the growing volume of sales and transportation, and the second stage of the Mint project realized in a consortium. And because of this, more costs over 20 million zloty will have just because of this one project in foreign services. This will be shown. Employee benefits, we are expecting to employ about 300 people, and at the end of 2019 will exceed 5,000 300 employees. That's a growth of about 6% year to year, and the 4% is the result of the growth of sales and growth of costs. About the financial activity, the investment plan, the working capital growth translates into the growth of debt. At the end of 2019, we are expecting to have 110 million credits more in comparison to the end of 2018. And again, a word of comment to the investment plans. The completion of investment projects that we started in 2018, which haven't been finished, which haven't been paid for, which haven't been transferred to 2019. This is about 100 million, and this is already in the plan for 2019. We are planning the dividend at the level in line with the long-term strategy that we published in 2016. That is 80% of the consolidated profit for last year. That will be about 260 million zloty profit, 80% of that. So we expect 210 million dividend payment in 2019. All these assumptions can be planned, of course, against the strategy. We are very advanced in the implementation of the strategy. The goals of the strategy, that's the second column to the right. The third column to the right are the goals for 2019. And we believe that will be at the level of 96% of implementation of the target by the year 2020. Again, we are confirming our acquisition goals in the extruded segment and in the aluminum system segments. We have our own goals to implement the growths by acquisitions, and we are confirming that we are still interested in these topics. And the remaining area, that is the fourth leg, the fourth segment, is also still within the scope of our interest, and we are actively looking for the possibilities of development also in this way. To summarize the whole presentation, we are expecting another very good year, the year 2019. Even though the signals from some economies and the cost base is growing, we still have a very good positive attitude despite the negative factors, and we are implementing our own dividend policy. And what was said before, we are starting to think what to do in the next strategic period. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. So now is the time to ask questions. You received a lot of information. Are there any questions? Anything needs to be clarified? Ewa Pogodzińska, PAP Business. I have a question about this investment. Do you have any offers on the table for the sales of any segment? And to make this more precise, the second quarter is to be the end of the overview and publication of the strategy by the year 2025. It's hard to say if we manage to publish the strategy within this time because we need to prepare the material. So when is it going to be ready? Towards the end of the year, more like towards the end of the year. We'll see how the implementation of these year's plans go. If there is no crisis, if there is no storm, if we keep implementing the strategy, if we know the answers, what next by the end of the year, in the second half of the year, we'll be working on the strategy 2020 2025. So I think a good moment for its presentation will be a presentation of the forecast for 2020. So what about the second quarter then? The second quarter, in the second quarter, we are going to work. So initially, you said that there will be the completion of the strategic options. We can finish working on the strategic options, and we can say that nothing came out of that, and we continue working according to the 2015-2020 strategy. So in the second quarter, you finish the overview of the strategic options. If there is no turn of events, sudden turn of events, we will tell you that we are continuing the strategy, and at the beginning of the year 2020, we'll present the strategy for years 2020-2025, unless something unexpected props up, which needs to be published. And the last question, Mercor is for sale. Would it be an asset interesting to you? I think I can answer that we looked at Mercor, but we didn't decide to take part in this process. Good morning. Afternoon, Grzegorz Witkowski, Insignis. First question of general nature about the market situation, because in the earlier quarters you said that this period of waiting of your clients is especially long, that you could choose you could cherry pick the contracts. And what's the momentum? Because the President Mańko, when making the introduction, said that you can see some slowdown at the client side. So if you could elaborate on that. Is the pipeline shortening? Can you see any symptoms that it will be quieter with the orders? And another question is about energy. It's interesting in a broad context. It's mid-February, so you know what's your bill for January. And that's there were some prices increased, and there were some things that were unclear. So what's the status now? Is it the same price as in the 2018? I'll ask Director Wysocki to provide a detailed answer. And about the other things, January was good for us regarding the sale in every segment, and we didn't feel the slowdown, actually. I'm not saying that we are looking forward to the slowdown. We fear the slowdown, but the horizon of orders is still long. Talking about shortening of this horizon, and we had some symptoms of that in November, but not in January anymore. We had a full portfolio of orders in January, and it's filled until April or May, so we cannot see any threat here. But regarding the second question, Director Wysocki can answer that, because energy is most connected with the extruded segment. Apart from buying energy, we also sell energy. We ask the question what we can do, and we are answered that they don't know. So the bills were higher in January. We are waiting for some regulations that will normalize the situation, because if we are selling, our clients also ask us. Apparently, we also talked to the provider. Now the contract that we have for 2019 is a contract with Tauron, and Tauron said that works are underway. So you have higher prices in the new contracts that were contracted last year, actually. Are there any more questions? Jakub Szobeken, Bank. I have a question about one project that appeared in Puls Biznesu today about the extension of Wiśniowski. So they started the aluminium project some years back, and they are planning to extend the plant, an extension of 300 million zloty. And can this manufacturer compete with you? The second question, don't you feel that the market is becoming crowded? You said that you believe Poncio will not affect your market position, but it's another manufacturer that has some capex on the market. So, uh, we are really happy with the development of Mr. Wiśniowski because this is one of our biggest clients. Mr. Wiśniowski produces aluminum products based on aluprof only. His cooperation with our company grew by 100%, and we hope to beat this also because Mr. Wiśniowski is mainly developing towards the production of PVC windows. He wants to fill this niche in his plant without competing with aluminum products. He's also developing the production of aluminum, and while producing the PVC windows, he plans to develop the production of roller blinds to sell sets. And there is more room for our systems because we are one of the few suppliers here on the Polish market, and we can take the cooperation with Mr. Wiśniowski to a higher level. So actually, it's our client, not our competitor, a very good client, a loyal client. So I can't understand what threats you are implying. Thank you. And to add more about the competition, if someone's looking at the market and can differentiate between the client and the competitor, even though we are a big player and the local development is difficult because everybody targets the leader, we take another part of the cake every year. So the dynamics of our growth on the national market is much higher than that of the competition, even though we achieved the level of 40 something percent share in the market. And increasing it further is risky. And when talking about this industry, this sector, you have to understand it very well. In the system of aluminium system, there are a couple of companies that have the know-how. One of them is Aluprof. There is also Shiko. There is a Javal on the Polish market, Aliplas, Poncio, and so on. There would be a threat in the aluminium profile if someone came up with the idea of taking all the best creators of this system, putting them in one room and saying, I want to spend $1 billion to create the systems that will put all our systems on their knees. So that would be a risk. Then we would lose because the new solutions would have even better technical parameters and would be 20% cheaper. That would be, of course, a threat. But no one is doing that. There are no new systems on the market. Everybody has some place on the market. Some are more dedicated to windows and doors. Others, like Shiko, for example, mainly high-rise buildings. Alupak on the Polish market has like 50% of the facilities. And we are in both places. We have doors, windows, and we managed. This is an achievement on the European scale because none of the former countries of the like Central Eastern Europe created a system like that, and we are competing. We are competing with the Belgian system, like Reimes, with Vicona, with Schiko from Germany. And what the director said, or what President Grela said, we are developing and selling outside Poland. And you need to look at the Polish market this way. What President Grela said, we can maintain our position, even though it's a very strong position. We are maintaining this position, and that is not all. We are also increasing our share in the market. And the Polish market should be treated, be it Andrzej Wiśniowski or Drutex or Oknoplast or whoever. You must remember that these manufacturers produce in Poland, but they are mainly exporting now. They built big sales chains, sales networks in Europe and outside Europe. And now they need the elements of the puzzles to build something from uh, uh, these elements. And if Andrzej buys more systems from us, and if his sales speed up, but these are mainly exports. Poland, Poland. In Poland, we are the biggest exporter in terms of the uh, and we are just supporting him. We are supporting Andrzej Wiśniowski in his development. We are supporting him in his development of his production capacities because, well, we just want to show the Polish products and sell them in Europe because the European cake is much, much bigger than the Polish cake. So there is still a lot of work to be done in Europe, a lot of work for our excellent clients, for our good Polish companies. And I believe this can be done. The situation is changing, the situation is improving, and every year there are more and more exports. Was it not for the strength of companies like Wiśniowski, we wouldn't have such results. We wouldn't grow so much. Where could we sell all this? We wouldn't be able to reach all the clients in Europe and globally. That's thanks to companies like Mr. Wiśniowski's that we can develop. I hope that I explained how the market of the aluminium systems works. Thank you. Paweł Wiszopski in company. In the context of the overview of the strategic options, of course, you are not going to say anything concrete, but I just wanted to ask how is the Ukrainian business going and what prospects you see that. It's going very well. We expect the growth on the Ukrainian market and growth on the Ukrainian market. We are, of course, um, supporting this with some orders from Poland. For 2019, we are expecting a big growth on the Ukrainian market. How many tons? How many tons? It's hard for me to say, but in percent, it's about 20% more sales on the Ukrainian market. And the plant has like 100% orders from Poland when we didn't have enough capacity, production capacity in Poland. And we also, unless the election changes something, but we paid the first dividend last year. So to make this more precise, which of the businesses is doing worst or which has biggest problems? So pointing fingers, right? Adam says it's finance. The year 2018 showed that all the businesses grew in terms of revenue by 12, 13, 14%. Do we have any weaknesses? I don't believe so. We had Złotów, we had Goleszów, and based on this business, we tried to build the fourth or the fifth leg. This was our dream. We didn't manage to do this, unfortunately. It was probably too late to build a company in Złotów that would be a system provider. We wanted to take advantage of what we managed to build in Aluprof, the systems for the doors, the handles, the locks, and so on. But it was too late. It was too late. We fought a little bit, but we didn't manage. And for us, it was a weakness because there were the people, there was the plant, but we changed the functioning of this company. This company then was taken under the wing by Aluprof, and now they are producing for Aluprof. So this fear about a certain weakness in the entire company disappeared. And in Goleszów, we wanted to build a company. There are huge companies that have the know-how how to build big objects like high-rise buildings. We had this idea, we had this plan to have an engineering company, a construction company like that in the group. It was a very difficult task indeed, and regarding the construction aspects, it appeared that we didn't know the details of the construction sectors, that it was risky. Maybe we were impatient as well, but it's hard to be surprised because these are projects that are quite risky. A lot of financial guarantees are needed, and it takes years. So we decided that we would get back to our roots, to the three core businesses, and that's how the group looks today. I mentioned these two businesses because you asked what I would name our weakness. And so these were certain weaknesses that we had to clean up, and that we had to put on track. But today, the company doesn't have such weak points. Sometimes it's bad because if you clean it up, if something is bad, if you clean it up, you have certain benefits, certain profits. And actually, there were no costs that would lower the result of 2018 and help us in the growth in 2019. Now we can only base on the value of sales, on how we fight on the market, on what margins we manage to work out in order to achieve the plan for 2019. Are there any other questions? No questions. Those listening online don't have questions either, so everything seems to be clear. Then, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the management board, and if there are questions during the informal time, they will be answered as well. Thank you very much, also those listening online.